Okay, I will call the meeting to order. Welcome to the library.
I have a big sign in front covering your faces. Am I supposed to do something?
I think your consent to be recorded. You should have something that says yes, where you
Well, there's a continue and leave the meeting, so I presume continue is the trick. Okay.
Continues better.
Yeah, continues better. Although we
Thank
have a quorum.
you.
If you leave the meeting, we actually don't have a quorum, so
all right.
you carry a lot of weight, although you've just arrived.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think that that's a new feature. I don't remember hitting that in the past, but okay. At any rate, at this point, I will call the meeting to order. Welcome to the Library Commission's June 21st meeting. This is a teleconference meeting with Library Commission members, city staff, and members of the public participating remotely to ensure proper social distancing in this federal, state, and local emergency. I would like to introduce staff and Library Commission members present. Commission members present are Alan Cohen, David Earhart, myself, Katie Hadrovich, Eldora Lee, and Vamsi Velagapudi. And missing from the meeting are Commissioner Sukanya Guha and Kristen Leap. And at this point, we would like to take a moment to welcome our new commissioners, Eldora Lee and Vamsi Velagapudi. Welcome, both of you. I'm really delighted to have you join our commission. Staff present include Sean Reinhard. Oh, I'm sorry, Sean's not with us yet, I don't think. Is he, Nick?
Not yet. I expect he'll join us.
All right.
There he is.
Oh, wonderful. Staff present includes Sean Reinhart, the Director of Library and Community Services, and Nick Shegda, Assistant Library Services Director. And Nick is also the staff liaison for the Library Commission. Nick, at this point, would you please provide instructions to the Library Commission and members of the public on how the meeting will proceed?
Sure. We're going to proceed by following the posted agenda. Commissioners are asked to please keep their cameras on and their microphones off until recognized by the chair. Members of the public, there will be opportunities for public comment that the chair will call for at various parts throughout the meeting. If you'd like to make a public comment when the chair calls for it, use that raise hand function in Zoom, or if you're a dial-in attendee, then press *9 on your phone.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we're going to first start with public comment. And under public comment, the public may address the Library Commission on any subject not listed on the agenda. Each speaker may address the Library Commission once under public comment for a limit of 3 minutes. Please clearly state your name and address or political jurisdiction in which you live. The Library Commission cannot act on items not listed on the agenda, and therefore the Library Commission cannot respond to non-agenda issues brought up under public comment other than to provide general information. Nick, do we have any public comment for items not on the agenda?
If anyone would like to make a public comment or comment on an issue not listed on the agenda, please use that raise hand function in Zoom, or if you're a dial-in caller, please press *9. I'm seeing no raised hands.
All right, thank you. In that case, we're going to proceed to regular business. Under regular business, the Library Commission considers recommendations from city staff on policy matters or administrative actions that require Library Commission approval. So item D1 is approve the minutes from the May 17th, 2021 Library Commission meeting, of which everyone should have received the minutes ahead of time. Are there any clarifying questions from the commission before taking public comment on this item? No. Okay. Nick, do we have any public comment on this item?
If anyone would like to make a public comment on the notes from the last Library Commission meeting, please raise your hand using that raise hand function in Zoom, or if you're a dial-in caller, please press *9. Seeing none.
Okay, thank you. At this point, I'll open for the library commission discussion of this item. Do we have any discussion? Any corrections? No. Okay.
No.
In that case, would a commissioner like to make a motion to approve the minutes?
Sure, I'm happy to make a motion to approve the minutes.
All right, thank you, Alan. And do I have a second for the stated motion? Thank you,
Second.
David. Thank you, David. Okay, Nick, would you like to take a roll call vote on the stated motion?
I will do so. And just for our new commissioners, I do a roll call and ask you to either raise your hand so that I can see it or reply yes or no, depending on your vote. That way, folks who are dialing in can know what you're voting as well. So I'll start with Commissioner Lee. How do you vote? That's an aye. Commissioner Veligapudi,
Yes.
Chair Hadrovic,
Yes, I vote to approve.
and since Cohen and Earhart were our motioners and seconders, we assume that they are in favor. The motion passes unanimously.
All right, wonderful. Thank you. All right, item D2, elect a new library commission chair and vice chair. And we will now have a brief verbal presentation on the election of the commission chair and vice chair for the coming year. Nick, will you make that presentation for us, please?
I will, and it's very simple. Each year, the commission in May elects a chair and vice chair. This year, we did not have, I'm sorry, in April, I think, we elect a chair and vice chair. We did not elect a chair and vice chair this year because there was some delay in getting new members appointed to the commissions. So this year it's happening in June. The chair of the commission helps develop the agenda for the meetings. They run the meetings according to Robert's Rules of Order. The vice chair steps in the chair's absence. The chair sometimes makes presentations to city council, usually the library commission's work plan. And on occasion, there are ceremonial appearances by the chair and vice chair. It doesn't happen too frequently, but with some new facilities coming online and some other things going, you may have a ceremonial appearance or two coming up. I don't know if you get a sash. I wish everyone got a sash at a ceremonial appearance. Usually what happens is the chair will open the floor to nominations, and commissioners can nominate themselves or nominate another commissioner, and then we vote. Staff will tally, and the chair and vice chair will start serving at the July meeting and will serve through April of next year.
Okay, thank you. Any clarifying questions from the commission related to this process before taking public comment? Okay, in that case, Nick, do we have any public comment on this issue?
If you'd like to make comment on this issue, please either use that raise hand function in Zoom or press *9 on your phone now. And I see no comment on this issue.
All right, in that case, I would like to open the floor for nominations for the position of the commission chair. Ellen, go ahead.
I'd like to nominate David Earhart.
All right, thank you. Okay. I would like to second that nomination. David's been an excellent vice chair and stepped in for me, and really, I think he would do a terrific job. So are there any other nominations for chairman of the commission? No. Okay. Okay, Nick, I see now I immediately open the floor for nominations for the position of commissioner vice chair. Is that right? We don't vote on the first one?
We can, if you'd like, vote on the first one, or we could take them together, I think.
All right, well, why don't we go ahead and take them together? As long as there's no competition here, I guess we can go ahead. So I'll open the floor for nominations for the position of commissioner vice chair. David.
I'd like to nominate Alan Cohen for vice chair.
All right. I would second
It's gonna
that.
be a stiff,
nomination
it's a stiff
also.
race. There's gonna be a stiff race here.
Well,
I printed up buttons, by the way. I have buttons. Bumper
well,
stickers.
Alan, Venzi and Eldora, for your benefit also, Alan and I joined the commission together. I think we've served for 3 years now. And Alan's, I think, a wonderful commissioner and always has a lot of very thoughtful comments and questions. So I'm happy to second that as well. Are there any other nominations for either of those? No. Okay. In that case, Nick, I have in my notes that I ask you to state a motion.
The motion has been made to nominate Commissioner Earhart for chair and Commissioner Cohen for vice chair.
All right. And now do I have a motion and a second for the stated motion? We've already got those, right? Yeah, I'm following the script, everyone. So
Okay.
all right. In that case, Nick, would you poll the commissioners to see if we've got approval for the stated motion?
I will do so. So the motion is to elect Commissioner Earhart as Library Commission Chair and Commissioner Cohen as Library Commission Vice Chair. Commissioner Lee, how do you vote? Eldora, can you hear us?
I think her mute's on.
Well, sure, her mute's on, but I'm not.
There you go. You're unmuted.
Eldora, how do you vote on the stated motion, Chair and Vice Chair?
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Velagapudi.
I vote to approve.
Chair Hadrovich, how do you vote?
I vote in favor.
Commissioner Earhart, how do you vote?
Aye.
And Commissioner Cohen, how do you vote?
Aye, it is.
The motion passes unanimously.
Wonderful.
Congratulations.
Congratulations to you both. And David, while we are remote, the ceremonial gavel is locked up at the main library, I think. So you'll have to find something to substitute for that. Okay, item D3, review and recommend proposed revisions to the library use guidelines. And we have a staff report that you should have all received and reviewed. And we will now have a brief verbal presentation on the recommended updates to the library use guidelines. And Assistant Library Director Nick Shegda will make the presentation.
Great. So this is actually fairly straightforward changes to our library use policies. Let me pull them up on the screen here for you. There we go. This is why I am a librarian and not the city clerk. Can you see my screen now?
Yes.
Okay, great. So the library use guidelines cover behaviors in the library. The idea is to keep the library safe for users, for staff. And with the COVID-19 pandemic, we realized we needed to cover some of these sort of health emergency issues that came up or might come up when the library opens. There's not a lot that we changed in the use guidelines. I will bring up this sort of proposed red line version. And basically it is exactly the same as the version from before. We added one line here that says violation of any federal, state, or local public health orders, restrictions, and protocols and/or guidelines is prohibited. So this is a list of things that are prohibited behaviors, and down at the end we stuck don't violate any local, state, or public health orders. So that's the gist of it. Happy to answer any questions that the commission might have, or any if anyone has any sort of clarifying questions, happy to answer.
Okay, do we have any clarifying questions from the commission before taking public comment on this?
Can I just ask, is it fair to assume that the language that you put into this is standard and perhaps has been done? Because I guess I just want to make sure that broad sweeping language doesn't get misinterpreted beyond the scope of what was intended originally. So I'm assuming that we've had folks who have a capability of looking at that and understanding what the legal ramifications of it are, and how it's intended and how it will be interpreted. Are we familiar with what other jurisdictions have done post-pandemic as they're trying to reopen? And has this been pretty much a standard procedure across other areas in California that you're aware of? Or I'm assuming you guys probably get together with other library groups across the state or across the country and talk about these sorts of things. So I was just wondering, it doesn't have to be an extended answer, but I was just wondering, because that language is pretty broad. And I think for good reason, because you can't anticipate every scenario, but I just wanted to make sure that we're not inadvertently putting something into motion that may need to be undone for an unexpected reason. So
yeah,
just
I
ask.
can ring in on that. And commissioners, I apologize for joining a little bit late. Sean Reinhard, the Library and Community Services Director. Wonderful to have the new commissioners on board. Welcome. The short answer to your question, Commissioner Cohen, is yes, consistent with what some other area libraries are doing. Of course, they have different variants on a theme. Some provide more detail, some have less. In this case, we kind of went with something a little more general because we know that it's, they're kind of constantly changing. Then the last thing I'll say is that the library use guidelines, it's a living document, as need arises, we can adjust them again to changing circumstances.
Thank you. And thanks, Alan, for that question. Okay, any other clarifying questions? No, then Nick, will you ask if we have any public comment on this issue?
Or if any member of the public would like to make a comment on this issue at this time, please use that raise hand function on your Zoom screen. Dialing in, press *9 now. Seeing none.
Okay. Okay. Nick, will you please state the motion related to this item?
Well, the staff recommendation is that you recommend the changes to the library use policy as outlined in the staff report.
Excellent, thank you. And would someone like to, I'm sorry, I think the script is a little wonky. I think
It's almost always a little wonky, Katie.
And
I
I
thought I
always
fixed one part
assume
of it.
that you've written it this way intentionally, but
No, I'm not doing it to you on purpose.
I think what I want is to just ask for a commissioner to state a motion related to approving or not approving this particular recommendation. So do I
I
have?
move that we approve this recommendation.
Thank you, Eldora. Okay, and so do I have a second on that motion? Alan, thank you. All right.
Sure.
So Nick, would you like to take roll call on that stated motion?
I will do so. Commissioner Earhart, how do you vote? And Commissioner Veligapudi, how do you vote?
Aye.
And Chair Hadrovich, how do you vote?
In favor.
And the motion passes unanimously.
Wonderful. Thank you. Okay. Well, this is actually a very short meeting, I think. So we are moving on now to informational items. Informational items are transmitted to the Library Commission in staff's effort to provide an update on matters of importance to the Commission. Informational items are not action items, however. A commissioner, city staff member, or a member of the public may request to make a comment or ask a question on any of the informational items. So Nick, do we have any public comment on the informational items that follow?
If any member of the public would like to make a comment on the informational items contained in the agenda or attached to the agenda packet, please either use the raise hand function in Zoom or press *9 on your phone if you're dialing in. Seeing none.
Okay, then we will move on to item E1, department updates. We had a staff report on that. And I think Nick or Sean, I don't know which of you wanted to, did you want to give a verbal update on E1?
I'll just share a particular for the benefit of our new commissioners. There is a written staff report that covers, a number of items, some of which are summarized on the agenda, but there's a few additional in the staff report on the same theme. The intent of these items is to give the commission an update on current goings on and to have on the agenda the opportunity to ask questions or even have a little discussion about them. Again, no action is sought, but this is just an opportunity to for those things, questions and discussion.
All right, and do we have any discussion on reopening plans, library spaces, city budget hearing, or anything else contained in the staff report? One thing that I was just wondering is, just because I see things happening in the news, is there a plan related to any hostilities related to masks, or is that something you've talked about at all? Is it do you have a plan in place if you have some sort of thing happen in the lobby or elsewhere, other than to just call the police and ask them to come over?
Yeah, that's a great question. So with the new library use guidelines update that the commission just recommended, any violation of applicable health regulations, would be a violation of our policy. However, currently, as of June 15th, and then most recently on June 17th, with some additional updates from Cal OSHA, the California Occupational Safety and Health Administration. Masks are not required to be worn in most situations by fully vaccinated individuals. Some exceptions would be like in childcares and schools and public transit and whatnot, but it doesn't apply to libraries. So at this time, we are, the city is more or less aligned with the state's requirements and not layering on additional requirements at this point in time. Additionally, the state director of public health, Dr. Mark Ghali, indicated that when it comes to vaccination status, of members of the public entering a place of business or other facility, people can self-attest as to whether they are vaccinated or not, and therefore whether or not they need to be wearing a mask. So, we are aligning with those requirements. We're fortunate in San Mateo County and in Menlo Park that our community has sought and gotten vaccinations at a relatively high rate. It could always be higher, but doing pretty well there. And so we're feeling cautiously optimistic that when we open on July 6th, that there will not be additional a resurgence in cases, but you never know. So there being no requirement for all to wear masks and no specific requirement to say check at the door, show your vaccination card or anything like that, we're hopeful that there will be minimal, if any, opportunities for any kind of confrontation. That said, it is a public place. Confrontations do happen. Our staff are well trained to deal with it, but we think the circumstances have kind of lined up in such a way as to minimize that to a large extent, as compared to if we had opened the doors, say, last month or something.
All right, thank you. Thanks for answering that question for me.
Mhm.
Okay, at this point, we'll move on to E2, which is the review and update of the Library Commission agenda calendar. And for our new members, we do look at this once a month. And if any of us have something we would like to address, we put it on then. We also take staff input. So if there's something that we've previously sort of pushed out to a month in the future, and now we're coming up on that and it doesn't seem relevant anymore, or we need someone needs more time for it, this is the time where we try to adjust for months coming up too. So either of you are free to add anything that you might like to discuss to the calendar, either for next month or for future months. And we also have a little parking lot at the bottom of our unscheduled future events. If there's something that you think you'd like to see us talking about, even if we aren't going to talk about it immediately, that's where we list those things. So the schedule is up right now.
Am
And
I live?
yes, you are.
Nick, do you have the photos that I shared with you for this meeting?
I do, Commissioner Lee, but I think that's going to come in the next section, which is where we do commissioner reports.
Okay, fine, thank you.
All right, so taking a look at the agenda, I'm actually going to, if I can, defer a little to our next chair. So David, if you wanted to look at the calendar and take the lead on structuring it, I'm happy to let you do that.
Yeah, thank you for that. I mean, I was reading through the unscheduled future. It seems like several of them are still pending. Well, at least two of them are pending council. Like three of them are pending other organization updates. I'm assuming nothing's changed there. Is that correct?
That's correct. We're still waiting. There's been a lot to do in the past 13, 14 months. So things like the while very important, the diversity, equity, and inclusivity policy, the emergency preparedness and safety policy updates, and the commission reports to the council are all still pending.
Okay. All right, so I mean, and the library would have just reopened in the couple weeks before the 19th meeting. Is there any consideration for just an update? I mean, some sort of, 2 weeks in, what I guess I'm trying to figure out if there's something meaningful there in terms of lessons learned after the first 2 weeks of reopening.
Yeah, I think we can certainly add that to the agenda. If not as a formal item, it can certainly come as part of our department updates. But yeah, we'd be happy to report out on how things are going.
I think that'd be very informative. I mean, because obviously you guys would be pretty fresh on what the updates would be. The service expansion update, is that pending budget confirmation still? Because I remember there was the timing associated with the city budget for that one, correct?
Yes, and the city budget goes up for approval tomorrow night. So.
Okay. So we do, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, it sounds like there may be some things that you'll have a meeting with Nick that may end up on the agenda based on any city decisions that happen between now and putting together the agenda for July.
Yeah. I remember there was a timing. There was a city budget situation that had to be resolved before the finalization with the service expansion was going to be based on what the ask had been and it's approved. So okay.
Yes, and I could speak to that just briefly in particular for the benefit of our new commissioners, which is as a result of the pandemic and economic downturn, the city experienced some significant operating budget reductions in fiscal year 1920, and then again in the current fiscal year that ends at the end of this month. Significant reductions in staffing, which have yet to be restored. There is a proposal going to the council, which they've indicated some support for, but the formal approval will be tomorrow night to potentially restore some of those reduced resources to enable the library to provide more services than are currently possible. But at this time, when we reopened to indoor public access, we're looking at a substantially reduced schedule, as compared to what folks were accustomed to before we closed and went to curbside pickup. A 5-day-a-week schedule, 40 hours per week total. Should the city council restore some or all of those reductions as put forward in the proposed budget, then the library would be able to return to some or all of those former hours. There would be a ramp up period to do that though, because it does involve recruiting and onboarding and staff and preparing for that. So with service expansion update, we anticipate coming back with those details for the commission based on what council's decisions are tomorrow at the budget adoption.
Okay.
Sort of a slightly parallel topic thing. Do you know when that is in the agenda tomorrow night? It seems like the last couple of city council meetings, everything's gotten well past 10 o'clock.
Yeah, the budget adoption, it's kind of at the second half of the agenda for tomorrow's council meeting. So I would say it's in the later portion of the evening.
Okay.
Yeah, although the meeting begins at 5. And while I have a microphone open, there was one specific question I did want to pose to the commission. You don't necessarily have to decide tonight, but in past years, you've programmed a recess in August. But in past years, the commission, like the new chair and the new commissioners, were seated in April. So you had a little bit more time to kind of gel before taking a recess. So you may want to keep a recess in August and not meet in August, but I just want to point out the timing's a little bit different this year. So it's plugged in there because that's been past practice, but you may want to consider that as a commission, whether you want to keep it there or not. You're not required to have a recess. You don't need to have one there. It's just you have had one in the past in August.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks. Yeah, I'm curious, just because it's been such an unusual period, right, for the last year and a half. And now that we're just opening library services again, I don't know if that means that there would be more of a need to have a meeting in August or less of a need. But, my thoughts are that maybe we should have a meeting in August, even if it's really brief. But I'll let maybe it's a good thing to just talk about next month, because certainly I'm not sure anybody's going anywhere that they don't already know about. So, and we have two commissioners not at the meeting right now anyway. So maybe next month it would make sense to talk about the August date, just to see if we would even have a quorum, and then from there determine if it seems like there's a need for a meeting. But if the city council does start making some decisions where suddenly a lot of things could be talked about and some issues are raised with reopening the libraries, it might be a crucial time to think about having a meeting. Those are just my thoughts on it, thinking about something to talk about next month.
I think those are all valid points. The fact that we have membership that aren't here, and the difference between making a decision now on this versus making a decision 4 weeks from now, when it's August, one more month away, I think people will have a pretty good sense of what next month looks like. Let's just assume that we'll make the decision next month. I would be fine with that. People are in agreement.
Yeah. And also because I think if we're having an August meeting, is it going to still be a remote meeting as opposed to in person?
Oh, great question. I could speak to that a little bit. The city's 4-phase reopening plan, which is at menlopark.org/reopening, indicates that I believe it's the September timeframe when public meetings may resume in person, like for the city council and the commissions. Now that could change, but that's kind of where it is currently. So at this point, August would still be a remote meeting.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, anybody have any other comments? David, anything else? Should we leave it right now the way it is, and then we can just change it going forward?
Yeah, I think there's no reason to cancel it now. We can move forward to the 19th and make a decision then.
Okay, and just to close out talking about the calendar, is there anything else that someone would definitely like to see on the July 19th agenda that isn't there now? Or should we just play it by ear here in terms of if something comes up, David can add it after tonight when he has the chair's meeting with staff?
I mean, there's so much is unknown and in motion that I think for the next few months we should be fluid.
Yeah. Okay, then at this point, I think we're done talking about this, although I would like to just ask a question that's not really related to our calendar. I should have asked it last time, but Sean and Nick, do you have any plans for any type of special ceremony, celebration, anything that the library is reopening again that we might all want to show up for? Or is it just, there's no budget for it, so we're just unlocking the doors and saying that, we're resuming things?
We are tentatively planning, not necessarily like a grand reopening, because I think we want to kind of make it a soft reopening where we just we'll certainly announce it to the community, but not necessarily have a gathering per se. But we do know that the Friends of the Library, the Menlo Park Library Foundation, and Literacy Partners, all three of them are independent nonprofit organizations whose sole mission, or almost their sole mission, is to support Menlo Park's libraries, are interested in doing some kind of homecoming for their memberships. And so I think we're kind of looking at having those gatherings kind of take the place of that. But they would not be happening in July. It would be later in the summer, maybe around September, at the time when the city is again allowing and facilitating like small scale like events, like community events. So the qualified, yes, but we think we're going to do it in partnership with those nonprofits.
All right, thank you. And so at that point, this actually, our next item on the agenda, which dovetails really nicely to what Sean just said, is advisory body member reports. And for our newer members, this is something that's kind of been a little modified by the pandemic because of all the changes in groups meeting and that type of thing. But so that you're both aware, we do we've had a voluntary self-selection of commissioners who act as a liaison a little bit with other affiliates to the library. So the Friends of the Library, the Menlo Park Library Foundation, Literacy Partners. Is there another one? The Historical Society. And we try to, if not go to their meetings, then just get to know whoever might be the chair or the president of those particular bodies and check in with them regularly. And our meetings are public meetings, so generally if they want to know what we're doing, they can come to our meeting or they can read our minutes. But just as a gesture of goodwill and sort of a two-way street, the person that is working with those other organizations typically will just give them a brief update of what's going on. And so it is voluntary. I also sit on the Menlo Park Library Foundation. I was asked to join that organization after I became a library commissioner, and typically it's worked well to have one library commissioner on that in that organization. So when they are doing regular meetings, I attend once a month the board meeting, and I'd be happy to give you updates on that. Although this month the board meeting was actually canceled, so we didn't meet. I also act as the liaison for the Historical Society. And I took that one on. I enjoy it. I don't mind it, but it was mainly because we didn't have another volunteer for it. So, you know, certainly if either one of you were interested in being the liaison for that, you're welcome to indicate you'd like to. The Friends of the Menlo Park Library has really essentially been completely shut down since the pandemic, but my recollection is Alan is our liaison for that. And the literacy partners, I think May Rin might have taken that one on, and she's no longer on the commission. So basically, if either of you are interested in any of those, it's not like someone else has called dibs and you can't be a part of it. Just let us know what you might be interested in. And Aldor, just give me 1 second just to give the advisory body member reports. I personally do not have any updates on the foundation or the historical association at this moment. And so why don't we just see if Alan has an update on the Friends, and then we can take any questions or comments.
Okay, I wish I had something to update. I attended their last meeting, which was a couple of meetings ago. So there was nothing new at the time. The timing of the library reopening and the state of affairs was still unclear. And as a result, that group was not planning on getting access to, nor were they given access to being able to use the mole hole in the library, which is what they call the space low down in the building. And they also were not actively accepting donations, which was proving to be a real problem because I think Nick pointed out that people are when they're motivated to donate something, boy, do they donate something. They'll hide it behind a bush, they'll stick it under a door, they'll slide it in the return mailbox thing, even though the sign says don't do that. So I have not heard word from that group yet, but I can't imagine that they're not going to be excited to want to get back and to turn the faucet back on and start alerting the community. But I have nothing official to add other than at the last time of the last meeting that I was invited to, things were still up in the air and they were hopeful, but unable to execute on their usual activities. And one would hope now that if things go smoothly, at the library, that they should be able to escalate their activities and start accepting donations soon.
All right, thanks, Alan. And Dodie, I think you had a question or comment.
I almost lost it in the discourse. It's gotten so complicated. One is that I am a member of the Friends of the Library and attend its meetings and have served in different roles with that group and met with them just about a week ago. So they're trying to stay on target and keep track of what the plans are for the library as a whole. So I can attest to that. I also wanted to ask our Nick to share some of the photos that I shared with him, because last week some of us went over to tell me this name of the community, please, to see the library.
Half Moon Bay, was it Half Moon Bay?
Thank you. I'm getting stage fright. And so one of my friends had a smartphone, and she was able to take pictures, and you can kind of get the difference and the similarities of what you see around in their environment. They have created a very open environment, and they even have books to borrow right at the front door. So if you would run through some of those, I don't think they all need commentary, but it'll give you a notion of what they're doing in Half Moon Bay. That's outdoors before you get in. Here are some sanitation kinds of things, reminders throughout. They seem to be alternating stations. So there is a station where you cannot sit next to one where you can sit. More information. This is something that has been closed off for the time being. Here is the teen spot, also closed off for the time being. And it tells you very elegantly in 2 languages, currently unavailable.
Wonderful. Thank you, Dodie.
You're welcome.
And so at this point, also, we usually have reports from commissioners. This is a really informal, I mean, we do ask for the advisory reports, and Alan and Dodie, I'll leave you to maybe, well, maybe you can talk. I know we can't talk to each other about library stuff offline, but if Dodie's already a member of the Friends, Alan, it may be that you don't need to attend, although certainly if you enjoy doing it, you still can. But
yeah, no, that makes complete sense.
Yeah. But,
there are different perspectives within the group, and you as a visitor might have yet another. So I would not rule out your attendance, please.
well,
Okay.
Not to put either of you on the spot, but if you do have an interest or want to know more about any of our partners, community partners who do work at the library, feel free to reach out to Nick or Sean to ask about them. And if there's something, any of those organizations that you would like to act as the liaison with for, you know, just let Nick know. And I don't think you'll see we're all fighting and duking it out to be the one that reports on that. We're pretty.
I have already expressed an interest in renewing the connection I have with Project Read or whatever follows it.
Wonderful. Okay. And then maybe Nick, you can, maybe that, David, that might actually just this might be a good topic for the meeting next month, just to sort of clarify who might be
Sure.
who might be doing that with each one, so that if we have some changes, we all know, and then we know what we're reporting on. So we usually do those official things, but then also this is a little bit of an informal time where you know, you're invited and encouraged to share if there's a book you are enjoying reading right now, if there's a library. I just found out, I think at our last meeting, that in the past, commissioners have made a point of taking a picture in front of a library out of town or around the world that they happen to be visiting, and so you could share that. And since we really are wrapping up, I think this is almost record time. What I would like to do for the both of you that we have done in the past when we had new members on the commission is typically we just take a moment to ask you to introduce yourself, and you can tell us a little bit about yourself, maybe why you wanted to join the Library Commission. And we try to be as friendly as we can be with each other, given that we haven't seen each other in person in a very long time. So if you feel comfortable and you want to share something about yourself, please do. And
Well, I will tell those who don't know that I got involved in the Menlo Park Library when I was working on a master's degree at Stanford. And I had the job of creating some kind of a program, you know, a computer program, and it had to be education oriented. And this was a big step from what I had been doing as a professor at Washington State University. So I got much involved in that process and was able to create a now extinct program, which was facilitated by someone at the reference desk to recruit people she knew would say yes as a pilot test. And it was how to use the card catalog. An incoming technology connecting with an outgoing technology we can now see in retrospect. But the patrons were eager to try out the new Mac that was on the desk, and we collected their data, we analyzed the data, and I got a master's degree. Another one. So that's good enough.
all right, thank you. And Vemsi.
Yeah, so hello everybody. I'm actually from the UK originally, so you hear a London accent, hopefully a clean London accent, you can understand what I'm saying. I was involved with some local commissions on the health side and park stuff in Islington in North London when I was there, even before I moved to Menlo Park. So I just wanted to get involved in some way in City Council. And my alternative career, I've ended up in tech. If I hadn't ended up in tech, I would have tried to either open a bookstore or become a librarian. So this is as close as I can get. So I'm learning, but I'm excited to kind of get involved and help out as I can.
Wonderful. Well, really, both of you, welcome. And I'm just thinking of a couple things that I would just like you to know as new members. One is we mentioned both when we were talking about the agenda and just protocol for the chair is that typically in normal regular life, the Library Commission does go in front of the City Council once, maybe twice a year, and give a brief sort of state of the Library Commission update, things that we've been working on. And I did do one of those, maybe two of those, but I haven't done anything in over a year. And I don't know when David might go and do that, but just so you kind of know some of the operations of our commission, when we do get notice that we will be going, that David would be going in front of the City Council to give a report, typically we do work on that a little bit together. So that's just a housekeeping thing, but I thought I would mention it because it was on the agenda a couple times here. Since I'm not going to be the chair in the future and I'll be on mute most of the time, I just want to say that I have really enjoyed being the chairman of the commission for the past almost 2 years. It's really, I've enjoyed all the people that have come and gone from the commission. I think this remote method has actually been worked really well because I don't think really we've had anyone have to miss because they were out of town on work, as has happened in the past. And so I do hope that we might always have an easier time of having commissioners log into the meetings. In the past, there were a lot of, I think, rules about it that made it almost impossible. As I recall, I think Alan was trying to log in once when he was away at work, and Nick said that the regulations required not just that Alan had to be in a public place and it had to be listed in our agenda, and Nick was staying at a hotel in New Jersey, so it seemed a little bit absurd. So hopefully we won't go back to that, but truly it has been a pleasure, and I look forward to serving on the commission with David as our chair. And Nick, or I'm sorry, David or Alan, did either of you have anything you wanted to say before we end the meeting? I'll let Alan say no or yes first.
Yeah, I was waiting to see if David was gonna. It was the battle of who can find the cursor. I'm of course multitasking, which is never good. No, I once again, Katie, thanks for working so hard at this role. It's been sort of a weird year. I'm not saying anything anyone doesn't already know, and one would hope that the direction that we're going right now stays the course, and that we can sort of continue to move forward. Aldora and Vamsi, am I pronouncing that right? Looking very much forward to working with you guys and having you on the committee. Hopefully, we'll be able to leave our homes and go to a meeting and actually walk into the library. It seemed a bit shallow a role to be supporting the library when it had a thin pulse and no one could visit it. So I'm glad that this too shall pass. But anyway, thank you. I've got nothing else. David.
No, well said, Alan. I just want to, from the commission, thank you, Katie, for the leadership over the last 2 years. It's made the meetings move smoothly, and you have asked questions and sort of peppered the conversation with the right around a cloud seating in terms of making sure we were on task and so forth. And I'm definitely feeling like I've got a lot to live up to, in terms of the 2 years I've been on the commission. You have been the chair both years, so the only chair I've known is you. So you said that you set the bar high.
Oh dear.
But I look forward to you contributing from the non-chair position, and hopefully maybe we'll put you in a position to be able to, to raise questions or to engage in a way that is, I know sometimes distracting when you're leading the meeting, to be able to sort of step back and then ask questions. You now will be, in the position to be able to not speak freely, but be able to maybe address things in a way which the chair, while simultaneously taking the chair role, makes it difficult to do that. So, but again, thank you so much for your leadership, and I guess I'm looking forward to for having you on the commission for the next year.
Yeah, well, thank you. And the only other thing, again, I'll only add this because we have new people, and we didn't do this last year, but traditionally we do get together outside of the library commission role once a year. We in the past have, I think, Sean and Nick, you'll have to remind me because I'm not quite sure, but it seems to me maybe we do it around the holidays in December, and then we didn't do it last year, but we usually have a commission dinner. And I'll tell you that I really enjoyed, I've only gone to one, but I really enjoyed being able to talk to all the other commissioners about things that weren't related to the library and getting to know each other a little bit, because we do tend to not talk to each other because we're not supposed to for Brown Act purposes. And so we get to know each other's faces and a little bit about each other from talking about the library at meetings, but it is a nice thing. And I hope that maybe we can do it sooner rather than later. Once that's something we can do again. So Sean, as I recall, you sort of set the date and let us know when that might work. So
I think we're looking forward to it, and I think we definitely want to do it again this year. And we actually have two of them coming, right? Because we missed last time, but I think
well, because
I couldn't agree more.
Maybe we'll just do one, but
yeah, it's nice to get together. Folks put in a lot of effort and time, giving of your own time and effort to help advance, the city council's goals for the library, and we really appreciate it. And so by the time, November, December rolls around and the commission can kind of figure out a date, if everything keeps going the way they're going, then we should be able to do that. And I look forward to it, and I hope the others do too.
all right, thank you. All right, everybody, I think that's a wrap. So happy June. I look forward to July 6th. That's going to be a super exciting day. I'm going to try to stop into the library for sure. Both libraries are opening on that date?
Correct.
Yep.
Yeah, both libraries are opening on that date. So we'll see you all at the July meeting. And at this point, I will say the meeting is adjourned at 7:30 on the dot. So thank you all very much. Bye-bye.
Have a good evening.
Thanks, Katie.
Thanks,
David,
everybody.
did you have a quick question after the meeting?
Yeah, I was just say I'm happy that the branch now is doing the curbside stuff from there. I mean, it's nice to be able to go over. It's a step towards the branch being kind of the library location as opposed to the senior center. So no, I appreciate that, and that the drop box is open now, and it's getting it back to normal again, which is really nice to see.
Yeah, thanks, David.
All right, everybody. Bye-bye.
Have a good evening.
Bye. Bye.